families going bankrupt because they're living on credit. They've taken out too much debt. Warning! Warning! Hurricane warning, tornado warning. The situation is right for a bad storm to hit. Is that what we are facing right now with the economy, with the banking sector, with your personal finance? Are you prepared? Are you making the right moves, the right steps to protect yourself, protect your family? Nobody knows. Nobody has the magic answer. But we can look at the big picture of what's going on, and it's not real pleasant. I'll warn you, what we're going to talk about in this video is not warm and fuzzy and happy, but we need to look at the facts of what's going on. Isn't that why you buy silver? Isn't that why you buy gold, maybe precious metal mining stocks, to protect yourself? And let's do a quick review. How did silver and gold do during the little banking crisis that we had just 9-10 weeks ago? We had a new flood of people coming into the precious metal sector, and the price of silver and the price of gold did very, very well. They did their job. Will they do that in the future as we face the slew of new difficulties heading our way? Let's touch on the banking sector. How do things look in the banking sector right now? Well, Jerome Powell actually put out a little bit of a warning about the commercial real estate holdings of some of the banks, and that they're keeping a quote-unquote close eye on things. Look, guys, Jerome Powell doesn't have a real good record at telling the truth. Remember, 2023, the year we're in right now, he had said just 2 years ago that we would still be at the basic 0% interest rate policy, and we know we just wrapped up the fastest series of interest rate hikes in history. So when Jerome Powell says there might be a problem over there, we need to really pay attention, because here's the simple situation that's going on with commercial real estate, big office buildings, big shopping centers, that type of thing. Banks loaned a ton of money over the last 5 to 10 years to commercial real estate developers. But there's two problems. They loaned all that money, often on an interest-only basis, when we were in that 0% interest rate environment. So they gave the developers 3, 4, 5, 6-year loans at very low rates. Well, guess what? Those loans are coming due right now. And with rates much higher, the developers are being faced with interest expenses that will double or more. And to make matters even worse, there's huge vacancies. These developers aren't even making money on a lot of their properties, even with the super low interest rate loan. So when they're faced at having much higher interest expense, a lot of them are going to probably just walk away. Bankruptcies, right? And that could send shockwaves again through the banking system. Investing in silver and gold can be difficult at times. I want you to know you always have a refuge here in the basement with me, where we can have some camaraderie and support for one another as we navigate these choppy waters. I'll put out a new video every day, something valuable about silver and gold. It would be my honor if you join me. Please subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. We're going to drive that point home with this article from Reuters. It says an executive who also serves on the board overseeing the New York Federal Reserve warned on Twitter of potentially systematic problems in the real estate finance market and called on the industry to work with authorities to avoid things getting out of hand. He noted that there are $1.5 trillion in commercial real estate debt set to mature in the next 3 years. He said the bulk of this debt was financed when base interest rates were near zero. This debt needs to be refinanced in an environment where rates are higher and values are lower. So again, their interest expense is going up, but the value of that commercial real estate is going down. It spells big big trouble for the banking industry. But what does that mean to you as an individual? You don't own any commercial real estate. You'll be okay, right? Well, that could have major ramifications in the economy. If the banking system seizes up, we could have major problems, banks not loaning, the economy crashing, the stock market crashing. It could get very ugly. Now, look, I want to point out, I'm not just trying to scare you to get you to sign up for some course. I don't have anything to sell you. I have no economic interest in pointing out the dangers we have in front of us. But they are real. And it's not just the banking system, and it's not just commercial real estate. What about the zombie companies? We have a whole slew. I've heard numbers as high as 10, 15, 20% of big companies in the United States that were only surviving over the last 5-10 years because of the zero interest rate policy. Again, these companies borrowed, in many cases, hundreds of millions of dollars to subsidize their business. Those are loans that are usually 3, 5, 7-year terms. And as they come due over the next year and a half, the interest rate expense at least doubles because of the new interest rate environment. So we're starting to see companies like Instapot, Pyrex claiming bankruptcy, big companies, and there's going to be more and more. The best analogy I can give you is popping popcorn. My kids always want me to pop popcorn. So you pour some oil into a big pot, you turn the heat up, and you throw a bunch of kernels in there. Well, as the heat goes up, right? Think of that as being the interest rates. The first 3 pop, the first 5 pop, and then all of a sudden, in those first 3 or 5, those are the 3 or 5 big banks that just went broke. Those are companies like Pyrex and Instapot. But then as the heat continues to go up, you get an explosion. And that's what we could see happen. That could be bad news for the stock market. I don't know about you. Right? I want to protect myself. I want to protect my family. I've been waking up really early, like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, wide awake with some adrenaline going through my body. Need I say, maybe anxiety, worried about how I'm going to protect my family. I've got twin 11-year-old daughters and a beautiful wife, Silver Susie. Many of you know her. What should I do? Look, we don't have any debt. We've got some assets. I own some physical silver. I own a bunch of gold mining stocks, but I worry about the gold mining stocks if the stock market crashes. It is very difficult, guys. The best we can do is keep our head out of the sand and look around and try to make the best decisions we can based on the information that we have. And by watching channels like this, you are educating yourself. You are making good moves. You know, the final segment that I want to talk about here that's in big trouble are individuals. This country, fellow Americans, have racked up more debt than any other time in history. Credit card debt is at an all-time high. Americans have spent through all of their savings. Are you in that situation? I'm not yet, right? Like I said, we have zero debt here. But if you're average in America, the average household has like $10,000 in credit card debt, maybe little to no savings, maybe $10,000 or $20,000 in a 401k. The other issue we're going to have going forward, the other kernels that are going to start to pop are going to be individual households and families going bankrupt because they're living on credit. They've taken out too much debt. It is not going to be a fun situation. And all of this is happening in a world which is geopolitically in turmoil like we've never seen before. You've got the East versus the West, the G7, right? America, Canada, Europe, against the emerging BRICS countries. And all I can say about that is we know one thing about the BRICS countries. They're generally anti-debt, and they're generally very much in favor of recognizing the value of silver and gold. When I wrote down BRICS and I wrote down the West in the notes for this video, under BRICS I wrote gold, and under the West I wrote paper, right? Paper money. Debt, unicorn fart dust, whatever you want to call it. So as we move through these challenging times, right, and we want to protect ourselves, at least for me, I get a certain level of comfort knowing that there's no debt, knowing that I've fostered good relationships with family, friends, even people like you from the channel, right? And that I'm holding on to those metals, that gold and silver, that they've always held their value, and they most likely will continue that no matter what type of choppy waters, tornadoes, or hurricanes we have to move through. Hey, thanks for joining me here in the basement. Go watch a live stream.